Contemporary Chinese Volume 2 and Lesson 2, Dialogue 1. So we have a cast of characters who are in a classroom somewhere on the western shore of the Pacific Ocean, so we're assuming not in China, and the teacher comes in and has a conversation with the students. And we start off with the teacher. 大家都来了吗? So we had a look at this in class, and this is an example of the use of le after a verb, and in this case it's at the end of a sentence. And so that both means completion of action in the sense that the process of everyone arriving is being completed, but also could mean a change of situation in the sense that prior to asking the question, not everyone was there, and now he's asking, is everyone there? Has there been a change? So Jiang Shan, the next character here, says, 王英还没来，别的同学都来了. So in this lesson we learned the word 还, meaning still or yet. We have seen that character before, which can mean also. And 没来, so has not come. 别的同学, 别的 we've learned before to mean other. 同学 we know, which means classmates. 都来了. Excuse me. And again, the le here has the same role as the le up above, where it both means completion of that action of arriving, but also, in a sense, a change of situation in that now everyone is here. So the teacher goes on and asks, 王英怎么了? 怎么了? So what that means is, what is up with, what is wrong with, what has happened to Wang Ying. And I'll just flick over to some notes that I've made here on the differences between 怎么样, and 怎么了. So it's very common to see 怎么 plus a verb, or 怎么 plus an adjective. So for example, in book 1 we looked at a lesson that talked about directions and talked about asking for directions, and the way that the directions were asked for in that lesson was, so for example, let's ask about the post office. So it was 请问邮局怎么? So there's our 怎么, and here's our verb, 走. So really, 怎么 plus the verb is asking how to do that action. With 怎么 plus adjective, I give an example over here where we might say, I don't know, this book is really good. 这本书很好. And then somebody might ask you, 这本书怎么好? In what way is the book good? So 怎么好. So this is our 怎么 plus an adjective. Now that's a little bit different from the expression 怎么样. So for example, we might say, let's go to the post office, and then ask, what do you think of that? 我们一起去邮局怎么样? 我们一起去邮局怎么样? So here we're asking for agreement. We're asking your opinion. How do you feel about it? The other way that we can use 怎么样 is we might say, I don't know, you might have just been to see a new movie, and your friend asks you, well, what was the movie like? So they might ask you, 电影怎么样? How was the movie? Or what was the movie like? The example that came up in our dialogue just then was 怎么了? And generally that's used when you're asking about a person, and as I said earlier, when you're asking, you know, what's the situation with that person? What is up? What has happened? What's wrong? What's the problem? 他怎么了? Jiang Shan, then responds 不知道. Pretty sure you guys all know that one. We then have 李琦, and李琦provides us with some more information. 他住学生宿舍，每天在学校餐厅吃早饭. And again, I strongly recommend when you're looking at sentences like this that have more than one clause in them, treat each clause like a little sentence, a mini sentence, and try to understand what the first clause is about. Look at the structure, look at the meaning, and then when you're clear about that, move on to the second clause. And sometimes in English, there's no need to necessarily directly link them when you're translating them into English with some kind of conjunction word. Sometimes you just have them as two separate sentences. It depends on the circumstances, but generally speaking, the information conveyed in each part is separate to the information conveyed in the other parts, although clearly related because it's all part of the one sentence. So this is our new word for this week, 住,他住学生宿舍. Again, we talked about in the lecture the fact that you could stick to the kind of sentence structure that we're used to, and you could say, for example, 他, there we go. Not sure that that's what I want to do. Sorry about that. So it looks like I'm not going to be able to type in characters. So I'll just have to stick with pinyin for this one for the moment. So 他在宿舍住. In this case, though, it's 他在学生宿舍住. Just make that a bit bigger for you. 他在学生宿舍住. But you can also say 他住学生宿舍. You could also say 他住在学生宿舍. Okay, so she lives in the student dormitories. 每天在学校餐厅吃早饭. So here we are actually getting back to our basic structure again. So we've got our time expression. The subject, I mean, who is doing this, has already been stated at the beginning, 他, so we're still referring to 他, as in Wang Yin. Then what we're saying, when she does something, all right, so let's be clear, this is what she's doing, 吃早饭. So this is our verb there, okay? And then this part here is saying, this part here is saying when she does it, this part here is saying where she does it, okay, where she does it, and then what she does. And that's the basic word order, and that's the word order that you guys should really try and become familiar with, get a good handle on, and try to use that kind of word order as much as possible. So 每天 every day, 在学校餐厅 in the school canteen, 吃早饭 eats breakfast. So then one of the other students, Qianzhong, also chips in and says, 我想现在他可能正在吃早饭. So this first bit here, 我想, I seem to recall we've come across this before, but anyhow, when you want to express an opinion about something, maybe where you're not 100% certain, you're kind of guessing a little bit, you can proceed what you want to say with 我想, and that makes it very clear that this is just your speculation, it's not a statement of fact. So we have our time expression, which as we know, with when something happens, when something is done, that time expression can come before the subject, which in this case is 他, because this is who we're talking about in the rest of the sentence, or it can come after. So it could be 现在他 or 他现在, both okay. 可能, we learned in this lesson, means possibly, maybe. 正在吃早饭. So here's our 正在, which we also learned in this lesson, and it's modifying the verb 吃, from, to eat, to eating. And as we said in the lecture, this 正在 combination, or even just the 在, always comes before the verb if you want to modify the verb so that it is something to express something which is happening. Okay, and then this 可能, this expression of possibility will come before, also always come before the verb, but in this case will come before the 正在 plus the verb. So that all means now she is maybe, possibly, eating breakfast. And here the 正在 just places a little more emphasis on the fact that she is doing this now as we're speaking. You could just simply say 现在她可能在吃早饭 and leave out the 正. So 正 or 正在 are both correct here, but the 正在 just gives a little bit more emphasis to the fact that this is happening now as we're speaking. Then Jing Rongnan says something a little bit unfair, a little bit critical maybe, or judgmental. He says 大概还在睡觉呢. Now 大概 we've come across before, and I think the original meaning that we learned was to mean, in terms of quantity, about a certain number, approximately a certain number. But I think we've also come across this word to mean maybe. So here it means maybe. 还 is our new meaning for that character, meaning still or yet. 在睡觉. So there's our verb 睡觉, and we've got 在 before it, meaning sleeping. So probably she is implied here, because we're still talking about the same person, is still sleeping. The n on the end here basically reinforces the 在睡觉. So the function of the 在 is to make to sleep into sleeping, and the n suggests that this action that we're talking about happening is still going on. It's often actually combined the 还 and the n. If you really want to, if you really want to emphasize that something is still happening, you can use 还 before the verb and then n afterwards. Other than that, it doesn't have any specific meaning. So then Li Qi chimes in again. 不可能，他肯定已经起床了. So we had the use of 可能 up here. So Tianzhuang was saying that she may be eating breakfast right now. Of course, Jing Rongnan then suggests this other alternative in a more judgmental way, and then Li Qi is saying that's not possible. 不可能. 他肯定已经起床了. So here's our verb to get out of bed, and this is who is doing the getting out of bed. And these other elements, if we work backwards, 已经起床了. So you could say 他已经起床了. She has already got out of bed. So that 已经 will always come before the verb. But in this case, he's adding a further layer of definiteness, of certainness, using the word 肯定. So she has certainly already got out of bed. Now you might say that the le here on the end, is it completion of action le? Is it change? Again, because 起床 is the verb, okay, the whole thing 起床, and it's at the end of the sentence, the le is going after the verb. It can mean both. It can mean, on the one hand, that yes, of course, she was sleeping before, we all were, kind of thing, but now she's not. And at the same time, it can also mean that that process of getting out of bed is now complete. So again, that le has that kind of double meaning. Then Ma Ding chimes in. 你们都错了. 你们都错了. 王英去医院了. So this first part, 你们都错了. So we learned when we went through the vocab that 错 means to be incorrect. So effectively this means you're all wrong. The le on the end here, in a way, I guess, is more about a change of state. It's not so much about a process of, being wrong. More about a change of state, because up until that point, they haven't been wrong. Well, anyhow, it's just saying at this point now, I'm telling you now, you are all wrong. So in that sense, there is a change of state. And then 王英去医院了. So here with 王英去医院了, again, the verb in a sense is at the end of the sentence, but really also the verb, as we can see, is followed by an object. So the verb is to go. The object, which is the place to which we're going, is the hospital. The le at the end means, again, both. It means that this process of going to the hospital is complete at this point that we're talking, and also le, I guess, means that there has been a change of state in the sense that she previously wasn't in hospital, and now at this point in time that situation has changed and she's gone to the hospital. Then the teacher asked the question, 怎么? 她病了吗? Now here, the 怎么, as it says there, it expresses surprise, and I guess we would interpret that as what? 她病了吗? Is she sick? Now this 病了, again, this is about both completion of the process of becoming sick. So it's now that process of becoming sick is finished. And I guess also it does convey a little bit of that sense of change of state, because we assume from the context of the dialogue that she hasn't always been sick. So this is a new state. So 她病了吗? And then Ma Ding says 她有点儿不舒服. So here we talked in the lecture about 不舒服, meaning not just uncomfortable in the general sense of if you're sitting in a chair or you're wearing shoes and you're feeling uncomfortable because the chair is too hard or the shoes are too small. In the context of illness, it can mean that she's feeling unwell. She's feeling unwell. Now, here, this expression, 有点儿, I think we've come across this before, is modifying this adjective 舒服, comfortable. So it's already been modified by another adverb, 不, meaning not comfortable. And this whole expression here modifies it even further. And this is, in a sense, a modifier of degree. So how uncomfortable is she feeling? She's feeling a little bit uncomfortable. So because here it's providing the degree to which he's feeling uncomfortable, therefore it needs to come before the expression uncomfortable. 她有点不舒服.